Many gardeners think that spring sowings can only begin once the weather is consistently warmer, but you can get earlier and more reliable harvests from some key crops if you start them off sooner. Right now there's a group of crops that are simply better started straight away. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the exact seeds that smart gardeners sow this month. We'll get them started, look at how to give them the best conditions for strong growth, and we'll be starting off perhaps the weirdest looking vegetable of all. So let's start with an absolute favourite of the summer vegetable garden, those tempting tomatoes of course. I love to grow a range of tomatoes from blight resistant bush varieties outdoors to beautiful tall vining types in the greenhouse. Tomatoes are one of those crops I find I'm almost beside myself with excitement waiting for, and a tomato plucked from the plant and popped straight into the mouth in one greedy movement, pure ambrosia. The ideal time to start sowing your tomatoes is about 6 to 8 weeks before your expected last frost date, so they're not too far ahead. Now to get them sown, I'm just using an all-purpose potting mix that I've sifted, and then into the pot it goes, and you can either use your fingertips to lightly press it down or just the bottom of a matching pot like this. If you're sowing more than one variety, definitely get your labels written up ahead of sowing, because it's all too easily to get yourself in a frightful mix-up. And then to sow, what I like to do with tomato seeds, because they're just about big enough to pick up individually, is pick them up one at a time and then space them nice and evenly across the surface like this, so that they are at least kind of half an inch or a centimetre apart. Now it's worth taking the time like this, because this means that each seedling has a bit more space to grow on before you need to transfer them into their own pots. What I'm doing here is ensuring each seedling has room, and it buys me a bit more time. Now let's tuck them in with just a little bit more of our sifted potting mix over the top, and then it's in with the correct label. And then of course a little bit of water to set them on their way. Now tomatoes are warm season crops which, surprise surprise, need somewhere nice and warm to germinate, and I've got two options to help them along, which I'll show you in a minute. Option one, put them into a tray with some sort of humidity dome or propagator lid like this. Or if you don't have one of those, option two, just secure a clear plastic bag over the top of your pot. And then on they go onto this heat mat here. Now a heat mat isn't essential if you've got a nice warm spot elsewhere in the house to germinate your tomato seeds, but it does speed things up and gives more consistent results. A heat mat doesn't cost that much, and if you're sowing lots of warm season crops year after year, I'd say it's a worthwhile investment. Once the seedlings are up, they can grow on a bit before being carefully transferred into their own pots. I like to bury the seedlings almost up to the lowest leaves, as this encourages more roots to sprout along the buried part of the stem and creates a sturdier plant. And once the risk of frost is definitely passed, the young plants can come back out here into the greenhouse to grow on a bit before planting time. And if you're not sure when your last frost date is, you can use our garden planner. It connects with your nearest weather station to give you complete peace of mind, so you know exactly when it's safe to bring your plants outside. And just like when I transfer my seedlings into their own pots, I'll be planting my young tomatoes a bit deeper to get more of those supportive roots. Closely related to tomatoes are potatoes, and they are both in the nightshade family. And if you have ever left a potato to flower and then produce its fruit, well, you can see the real similarity there. And what kitchen garden is complete without at least a few beds or even tubs of this real crowd pleaser? Depending on where you're growing, round about now is a great time to get your seed potatoes in the ground or nestled into their cushion of nutrient-rich potting mix. I always think that potatoes are hardier than they actually are. They sprout so easily, and if you've ever left a few tubers in the ground from a previous harvest, you'll know how easily they re-sprout, even after a frosty winter. But these are frost-sensitive fellows, so at this early point in the growing season, we still need to exercise a little bit of caution. That said, I reckon it's well worth the effort for those precious early harvests. If you happen to get your seed potatoes a few weeks ahead of planting, then it is worth pre-sprouting or chitting them, And to do that, simply lay out your seed spuds like this in some sort of supportive tray and just keep them in a bright position, like a windowsill would be fine, until they start to produce short, stubby shoots. This step isn't essential, but it does gain you a bit of a head start if you have the time. If you have somewhere that's protected and a bit warmer, like a greenhouse, well, you can get yours started as soon as possible, and I'd plant them into a large container like this. This one is around 14 to 16 inches or 35 to 40 centimetres across. And this way you can mollycoddle them for the first few kind of weeks while it's still chilly. Now I'm just filling it with all-purpose potting mix that I've cut with my own garden-made compost, just to make it go a bit further. And I'm adding about a 10 centimetre or 4-inch layer into the bottom, and then 2 seed potatoes. And I can use the handles like this as a guide, one in opposite kind of ends, nestled in. And then cover them over and fill to about 2/3 full. Now I'm going to go in with 2 more seed potatoes. Now the first 2 went in like this with the handles like that, but these 2 are going to go at 90-degree angle like that, just nestled in. And that way when they grow, the shoots won't be sort of on top of each other and competing and getting in the way. And then just fill up your pot all the way to the top. Now doing this method is so simple because there's no earthing up or hilling or anything like that. The pots are already full, so all I need to do is make sure that these are protected from all kinds of frost, and they can always go outside later once conditions have warmed up a bit. Now I'm a bit naughty, I like to bring these indoors, on the mat of course, to enjoy the warmth of the indoors, and then that just speeds things up by another week or 2. And then once they are up, they can come out here. And then by the end of the month, where I am at least, we're good to plant directly into the ground. Now, as a bare minimum, I would aim to plant some early varieties of salad type potatoes because they are the absolute royalty of spuds. Now, it's still a bit early for me here and the soil is very, very saturated. So I'm going to help it dry out in advance of planting by just popping over these old window panes over the top to keep off some of the incessant rain we've been getting. There's no point hurrying trying to plant potatoes outside. Be guided by the soil conditions. I've added lots and lots of organic matter, some lovely well-rotted compost onto the bed so it's nice and rich. And planting spuds really is glorious. It's the quintessential springtime job. The spuds are going in, the birds are singing, and life's good. And then to plant, it's just a question of making a hole about 8 to 6 inches or 15 to 20 centimetres deep for each spud, and then planting it with the shoots facing upwards. And I'll space each potato about 16 inches or 40 centimetres apart in a sort of grid formation. If it is a bit dry when you are planting your potatoes, chance would be a fine thing, then just finish off with a good water. And then once the shoots push through the soil, keep a beady eye on that weather forecast. And if a frost threatens, then be on hand with a couple of rows of fleecy row cover to throw on top to protect those young shoots, or just draw up the soil around them to keep them temporarily protected, and they will soon push through. And with the warmth of spring, growth will really pick up, and you can expect to harvest your first spuds by early summer. And for more on growing potatoes, and indeed any of the veggies featured today, I will include some links to our full growing guides in the video description below. This year I'm keen to up my pea game, literally. Like those lovely fresh salad potatoes, those first peas picked from the pod are just something else. Garden grown peas are a league apart from the frozen peas you'll get at the supermarket, and there's something really tactile about shelling those pods. It's the start of a truly special meal, perhaps with some potatoes as well. I usually grow peas that go to about waist height, supported with either mesh or pea sticks, but this year I'm keen to add some more vertical interest to my garden, and what better way to do that than with a climbing variety of pea. And I'm going to be sowing a classic heirloom or heritage variety called alderman, but other climbing pea varieties are available. Climbing varieties of pea are incredibly vigorous, so once they are planted against their supports, they will quickly zoom skywards, and with a little bit of warmth, they'll really grow rapidly and you can expect your first harvest from about early summer. Hardy peas may be sown from early spring, and the surest way to do that is to sow them into plug trays. They can be sown directly outside, but this way they're safely kept away from the likes of slugs and, crucially for me, those pesky pigeons. Then in go 2 seeds into each plug. Now if these both come up and I get 2 seedlings, no bother at all, I just leave them as they are to plant out as a pair or individually, and they'll go out in maybe another 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 4 if it's a bit cooler, and about 4 inches or 10 centimetres apart. This year I've set up this netting trellis support, which I reckon will look really rather fantastic once the peas are scrambling up it. And you can see our video on how I made this and other vertical supports, which I will link to below. But whatever supports you use, just make sure that the verticals are properly thrust into the ground so they don't wobble about in the wind and topple over with a gust of wind. Back in our January sowing video, or winter sowing video if you are watching this in the southern hemisphere, I showed you how to sow onions. There's still just about time to sow them, so I will link to that video in the description below if you would like to do that. But if you can't be bothered with all that, or just want a bit of a head start, then an alternative is to plant sets. And it's not cheating, it's a clever way to start them off really. What sets are is in fact just immature bulbs that have been slightly grown on and they're ready for planting now. And once they hit the ground, they'll be oomph straight away and they'll put on growth quite rapidly. The one risk with sets is that they can bolt or flower prematurely, giving little in the way of a usable bulb. But one way to get around that is to plant towards the end of the month. From around the spring equinox is ideal. This way there are fewer really cold nights that are likely to trick the bulb into thinking it's gone through another winter and then forcing it to send up flowers. That risk will be behind us by then. So in they go, about 6 inches or 15 centimetres apart, and I use a kind of measuring stick with marked off distances just so I can get it nice and just so. And they're going to go that distance apart both within the row and between each row like that. And that gives plenty of good airflow so the onions can grow nice and strong. And they like a sunny spot, and the sun's come out to play, so this bed here is absolutely ideal. I'll need to keep them watered, of course, in dry weather, and just pull out by hand any weeds that do appear, and that's important so I don't yank out the bulb with it. Within another week, or certainly 2, those first delicate green shoots will be sprouting from our sets, and the whistle will have been blown in the race to those bombastically beautiful bulbs. Watch out for mildew as well. It's a fungal disease that can turn the leaves yellow from the tip down and really kind of spoil your crop. It's more common in cooler, wetter climates, which is why proper spacing is so important to get that good airflow. But you can also tip things in your favour by selecting a mildew-resistant variety, and there are quite a few out there. And now for that weird-looking vegetable I promised you, kohlrabi. Now this might look a little bit unconventional looking, but we love weird veggies here, and I'd say this is more of a handsome fellow than weird. It looks a bit like a baby alien head beamed down from space to shine a little light into our lives, or something like that. Kohlrabi is a type of brassica like cabbage, broccoli, kale and so on, all of which can be sown now by the way, except kohlrabi has been bred to have a swollen stem. You'll be hard pressed to find it in the supermarket, so growing it yourself is often the only way you will ever get to enjoy it, and it's got a lovely mild sort of peppery tang to it. I love it kind of shaved really thinly with something like a mandolin to have it raw in a salad. And it's absolutely packed with all sorts of good stuff like sulforaphane, well worth growing. Now you could absolutely sow kohlrabi directly into soil that's been raked to a fine kind of texture, but I like to start them off in plug trays again just to give me that kind of bit of extra head start and protection from all the elements out there. And this time I'm just going to go in with 2 or 3 seeds, say, per cell like this, and then if I get more than 1 seedling come up, I'll remove the others to leave the strongest in each. Kohlrabi can be sown throughout the spring, but by getting them started nice and early like this, there is a good chance that these will be harvested long before those annoying flea beetles or cabbage white butterflies turn up. Think of it as a kind of stealth crop. Once these guys are up and have grown on a bit, in maybe a month or so's time, they will get planted into their final positions. And I'll plant them about a foot or 30 centimetres apart in both directions. Keep your kohlrabi well watered and harvest them up to about tennis ball size before the roots, or rather the stems, turn a bit woody. Don't forget to check out our other sowing videos, including last month's, which you'll be able to click through to in a moment. Now, all of the crops featured in that video can also be sown now, very handy. And don't forget to take advantage of the completely free, no obligation trial of our garden planner. You won't need to put in any payment details, and you'll be able to try out all of its powerful features such as companion planting, crop rotation, and brand new and incredibly useful seed inventory. Just head on over here to get started, and I will catch you next time.